And speaking of power play, guy that quarterbacked the power play, but better penalty killer, that third line centerman, worked hard, Tyler Wright. Ty, how you doing?
Good, or fourth line right winger, whichever one you want to say.
Hey, listen, a couple of hat tricks in the career, and that last one against the Leafs in overtime, not bad.
Well, you know, when you can remember every goal you scored in the National Hockey League, I don't know if that's good or bad.
Hey, your evaluation. In fact, why don't you go ahead and describe what they're doing out here on this drill?
Well, just trying to play some quick keep away. You know what? With our numbers that we got here, we've got 27 kids in camp, and we got 3 kids that had surgery. So we only had, 24 healthy guys, and we changed it up a little bit. We wanted to make sure that it was more like a team atmosphere, and we wanted to make sure that it was an intimate group where we could spend a lot of one-on-one time with these kids, and we think that the level drops down too if you just start bringing a lot of free agents and stuff in. So excited about the week. Had a lot of interesting points take place, and we had every one of our draft picks from this year's draft come in. So that's a first for us. So that's exciting. It's a long week, and it's a lot of information and a lot of hard work for these kids to take in, but it's very valuable for them to go home. And the next 2 months are extremely important for them.
Tyler, your first draft as Director of Amateur Scouting, and now you see the guys that you chose out here. Not only Ryan Murray, but you got your goaltenders out there, and you got Daniel Czar out there who just scored a goal. Is it exciting for you to see guys that you had a hand in putting on the list and actually helping them become Blue Jackets?
Well, it's exciting, but at the same sense, they're a long ways away from getting there. But it's a process, right? We want to be able to develop our players and give them every resource possible to become better players. And the theme for this week was choices. You got a choice, and you have a choice on what you can put in your body to eat. You have a choice on how hard you're going to work and push yourself. You have a choice when you go back this summer on how hard you want to work, because this is a constant daily basis for NHL players, and a lot of these kids don't understand how hard you have to work, and that's what really pushed this week.
Well, Ty, right now you are your title, you're Director of Amateur Scouting along with Paul Castron. You've relinquished the duties as far as the development coach is concerned. What do you pass on to a guy like Chris Clark that's taking over your job?
Just his life experiences through his career. It's, you start reliving about, what you went through as a player and how you handled that situation. And he's got to develop a lot of relationships with these kids, and there's going to go through peaks and valleys, but the number one thing for Chris is he's got to develop the foundation of them to move on to become pro hockey players. And until they understand how hard you have to work, treat your body like it's a temple. It's the only thing that you can control. The off ice and the commitment level. We want guys that want to win the Stanley Cup. We don't want guys that are going to come here and be good hockey players. We want guys that are going to be able to come in here and work as a team in whatever role you're put in and succeed at it. And this is the first step, and I'm excited about it.
Reflect back, and Dave, I just want to get this in while we're still on that topic. Reflect back to when you were a player and how things have changed even here in the last 7-8 years.
Well, absolutely. I think Chris is a perfect example, like myself, that you kind of had to fight for everything that you had to get in the National Hockey League. I've been through every transaction possible as far as being bought out, traded, waived, sent to the minors, first round pick, in parades and then in the minors. It's a wave of emotion for young kids, and you just, as a development coach, you have to try to equal that balance so they don't get too low or don't get too high. And when they are high, you let them enjoy it, but you got to knock them down a little bit. And when they're too low, whether or not they're playing good, it's really irrelevant. You got to pick them up and help them along, that we really care about them, and we want to give you everything possible to become not only a good NHL player, but a great NHL player.
And what do you find with these guys as they come in? Are they nervous, or do they realize that a potential spot on one team or another is on the line here? Or what do you find when they come in as opposed to where they are at the end of the week?
Yeah, absolutely. The first year guys coming in, there's a lot of nerves, and the guys that have been here before, they kind of have an understanding. They're a little bit more comfortable with this, the coaching staff, Scott Housen, the general manager, Kevin Collins, the strength coach, who grinds them like really hard. And I think that was one of the most important things during the week that we're trying to do. And it's exciting, because as you evolve in the process of the development camps, at least that I've been involved at, you see the way that these kids are starting to come. A guy like Boone Jenner, you know, a kid like Dalton Kraut, Austin Medeski, and obviously with this year's draft, you know, Ryan Murray in our goaltending position. You mean in one draft we think that we've done extremely well, and you know, Anton Forsberg, a kid that was last year's pick. We think that we've restocked our coverage here in the goaltending position, and hopefully it's going to be an asset for us in the years to come.
Now the key is for a lot of these guys, and we mentioned the fact that as soon as the camp is over, you sit down, you talk with these players, you give them an idea what you expect from them, then it's going to be up to them to be able to go do it. And especially as well where they play. And there's going to have to be some tough decisions, especially with some of these European players. Do they go back home or do they come over here and play in North America?
Absolutely. And you know, the NHL has changed so much from the time Chris and I were coming in. It's a 12-month, year-round training excursion. You got the internet. We've got programs set up where Kevin Collins can go online the next day, and Oscar Dansk, who may be in Sweden, can put in his workout and his diet plan and what he had, and we can have all that information that day. So there's a lot of useful tools for us out there, and at the end of the day, it's got to be the kid's responsibility to make sure that he's given himself every opportunity. You can cheat and cut your corners and say you're doing what you're doing, but you know what? When it comes to September, we're going to find out. And not only are we going to find out, we're going to know what kind of character you are. And we have a certain philosophy that, you know, at least I have a certain philosophy that I want to go forward and the kids that I want to draft. And we're going to go with kids that want to be here and kids that want to win the Stanley Cup, and whatever role you're put in, whether it's a second or third, fourth line role, you're going to do whatever it takes.
You know, you talk about that character, Tyler. People have talked about what is the identity of this Blue Jackets team. It sounds like you're starting to develop that from the moment these guys become a part of the organization.
Well, absolutely. And you look at a kid like Ryan Murray and Boone Jenner and you know, a kid like Michael Chaput that we got in a trade, Dalton Smith, Will Weber. You mean, these kids are not only they're good character kids, they're going to be hard to play against. And if we're not doing very well on the score sheet, they're going to know that they played against the Cumbles Blue Jackets. Now, these kids will determine whether or not and when they play, but we're just trying to make sure that we're giving them every opportunity to be that guy.
Would you like to be a player today as compared to when you were drafted way back when?
No, I'm perfectly fine exactly where I am sitting up in the press box. These kids are so big and so strong right now and so fast. You mean, it's scary. I mean, you look at what these kids are doing. Now, Dalton Smith, a kid that, you know, has made leaps and bounds in 2 years from being a draft. His skating has improved. He's 215 pounds. You mean, they're a different breed now, game, and I always bit off a little bit more than I can chew, and I'm not sure I'd be around too many days if I was doing that at this stage of the game.
Well, they all have their roles. You had your role. There was no question about it. Still one of the fan favorites around here, Ty, and we certainly wish you the best. I know as Director of Amateur Scouting, it's a new venture. You've had a year under your belt now. Are you looking forward to future years and remaining in that role?
You know what? I said to my wife after the weekend, and I got myself in trouble because I said, outside the birth of our 3 children, I said, it could have been the best day of my life. And she said, well, where did you rate our wedding? So I kind of had to rate, I forgot about that. So I said, outside the birth of our 3 children, this still was the best day of my life. So it was an absolute amazing weekend. You mean, I grabbed this, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I went to Europe 8 times. I spent probably 8 weeks over the course of the year in Europe. And I mean, we have to draft. The draft starts with us, and then it trickles up into the National Hockey League with our American Hockey League team into the NHL team. And as long as I'm in this position, I'm going to make sure that not only are we going to be competitive, but when we're going to be a good hockey club, we're not just making the playoffs, we're going to go long and deep.
You know, we should touch on that too, not to go back into this, but as part of that draft, 2 goaltenders in Dansk and Korpisalo, and 2 guys who I think everybody in the league was high on. We already talked about the fact that a lot of people, including Oscar himself, probably thought he was a first-round guy, but you've got some depth now in that goaltending position, which has got to make everybody relax a little bit there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's such a big part. You mean, you look what Jonathan Quick did for the LA Kings.
Yeah.
You look what Pecorini can do. You mean, you look at Lundqvist with the Rangers. You need to have solid goaltending, and you look what happened last year. I mean, Steve Mason didn't have the year that he wanted to have, and we're not going to wait around for people to decide when they're going to play. So we're gonna restock the cupboards, and hopefully that we can have some good, healthy competition. goaltenders are a huge asset for the organization. We're going to continue to draft goaltenders, but at the same sense, like you said, we're really going to try to create an identity for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and that's going to be a hard, fast team to play against.
All right, Tyler Wright, Director of Amateur Scouting. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate the
Thank
time.
you.
Got a triathlon in you this summer? No? Anything?
I'm signed up. We'll put it that way.
You got a few weeks away though, right?
I've got 7 weeks away, and you know, when you're living in Helsinki, Finland for 3 weeks and you're living in a hotel, it's a little hard to train. But we'll give it a whirl. I'm not going to try and win it, but I'm gonna give it a whirl anyway.
You can win when you get into a seniors division.
Well, I should be. My body feels like I'm in one right now.
Thanks, Ty.
Thanks,
Okay,
Ty.
thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.